All right, Frang and Mack here on a Monday night, our NFL Whip Around podcast. Let's get right into it. Enough of the pleasantries, Frang. Patriots signed Steven Jackson today, even though most people thought they kind of just kicked the tires and were done with him after last week's workout. But it turns they would just wait until this game against the Titans was over, and they signed the 32-year-old veteran, three-time Pro Bowl running back. If this was 2009, 2010, I think it would raise a lot more eyebrows. But they're only asking for 5 games out of him at the most. And he's a guy familiar with the offense, played for Josh McDaniels in 2011 with the St. Louis Rams, familiar with the offense. He should be able to come in and contribute. What do you think, Frank?
I think in terms of running back, when we talk running back, the magical number is 30. That's when you start to see the decline in production. The last 2 years in Atlanta, 707 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 543 yards, 6 touchdowns. Although he didn't get a lot of carries, I do like the signing. He's been essentially out of football for a year. So here's a guy that's fresh legs. He's just been working out, waiting for a shot. He only has to be ready to go for 5 games. But it's kind of a surprising signing. I know McDaniels, they had that history back in 2011, I think it was. So he knows the system. They brought him in last week for a meeting. Brought him in the next day for a workout. They decided to hold off on signing him because I think they wanted to see what Joey Usefa had, which he impressed me in his debut coming off the practice squad. So with Blunt down for the year and maybe, last time in New England, they might have a fine in Joey Usefa. But again, Jackson, that 1-year deal. Once upon a time, this guy did run for, 8 straight 1,000-yard seasons. So a talented back. It's not 2008, but I like having him be brought in. He just has to stay healthy. And now they have a kind of a go-to guy on 3rd and short, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3 that they can rely to hit the hole hard as a power back.
Yeah, that's all you're really asking from. That's what I thought of immediately when they made the signing. It's just because all season long, really, they have had struggles running the ball with guys other than Tom Brady in 3rd and shorts, 4th and shorts, goal line situations. Well, Garrett Blunt is kind of just a big stiff out there. He just kind of runs right into the hole. He's done for the year. Brandon Bolden is a good back, but I don't really think he can really power through. Steven Jackson, 6'2", 245, veteran back.
But of course, those are all valid points. But not only that, when someone goes down, you're spreading thin all around. So now Brandon Bolden can resume his role as a special teams player, which he excels at. James White, you got your pass catching back, and now Steven Jackson can get some carries out of the backfield.
Yeah, and I think they realized that yesterday. They love Brandon Bolden on special teams, and they know that I don't know if they took him out yesterday at one point, but the Titans had a pretty decent punt return there, and I'm not sure if Brandon Bolden was on the field because they're using so much on offense, and I think they realized that, and then you started seeing the Hawaiian Hammer get a lot of carries out there, and they realize I think they know that Brandon Bolden can do some things out of the backfield, but they're going to keep him where he's most valuable, and that's on special teams.
Yeah, I'm not
That's
sure.
why Steven Jackson is a big acquisition.
I want to think that because Belichick and McDaniels and those guys are geniuses, I want to say that it was a game plan. It was schemed to have him eased into the offense. That is Joey Usefa. So it seemed to work where Bolden got the start, got a couple carries early, but then kind of faded as the game went along, and his was kind of put back to where he I guess belongs. I mean, he's a standout special team player. Just that's where he earns his contract, and it's important that he's back out there because the special teams have struggled as of late. But Jackson's brought in now, replaced Blunt, who's out for the year. May not be back in New England. His contract's up at the end of the year, but we'll talk about that after. See where we think his future is. I want to ask you, what do you think? Because it seems like they kind of have a logjam now. I guess we could assume that Brandon Bolden will be placed back on special teams, but now they have James White, Usefa, Steven Jackson, and by the way, we have Monty Ball on the practice squad, who came in a little heavy because he hasn't taken a snap this year. But now we kind of have a logjam.
Yeah, I don't think that I find it hard to believe that they'll suit up more than like 4 running backs in any particular game. So I think a lot of these guys are going to be healthy scratches or on the at Moneyball. When they sign him,
There's
I
a
know it's a
legit
big
shot
name.
he doesn't make it to the
I
53
think
roster.
he could get cut in the next
Yeah,
couple days. Really, I think they brought
especially
him
if
in.
Steven Jackson comes out and looks great, there's a chance he may not be on the roster the next day.
Yeah, don't be surprised if he gets cut in the next few days. They sign him; it's kind of a big name. I think he has the one. He's one of the all-time leading rushers in college FBS history, and he played with
Actually, he
James
just
White.
got passed, I believe. I think he was just
Yeah,
passed.
somebody passed
But
him.
he when he was drafted in 2013, came in about 215, 220, and now he's up there. I think it was 235. So he's out of shape.
And he's a
Again,
running back that's supposed to be a guy that catches the ball, and he's a fast back. He's not a big power back. He's a guy that catches the ball in a fast-paced offense that he did at Wisconsin. He's supposed to be like another James White, and you can't do that when you're up 235, 240 like he is.
yeah. So I think he is probably on the outside looking in. I don't think he'll get a shot on the practice to move up to the 53 roster unless barring injuries. But I did like the signing until I heard how out of shape he was. Again, been out of football all season, hasn't taken any snaps, but I guess it's good to have that depth. And, with a team like the Patriots, Super Bowl champs who have just been plagued with injuries, week one this year, it started as the Tom Brady scorched the world tour, and now it's been the IR. We have 17 guys on IR, most in the NFL.
Survival tour.
Now it's the survival tour and try to get, limping into the playoffs, basically. So I do like the signing. Hopefully Steven Jackson has a little left in the tank because here's a guy who's never tasted playoffs. I mean, back in '04 when he was a member of the St. Louis Rams, his rookie season, he did not take a snap in the regular season, but did get some playoff time. That's over a decade ago. Here's a guy that went through his whole career, albeit besides his rookie season, he hasn't tasted any postseason success or any postseason for that matter at all. So here's a guy that might come in. Remember, 2 games, then we got to buy. So he's just got to, and I don't even expect him this Sunday. I don't expect the Patriots to go run heavy. I think he'll
Be
run
out
the
there,
ball.
though.
He'll be out there, but I think he'll run between 10 and 15, 15 being the most. I could see him getting the ball around 12 times. It's going to be difficult to run on the Jets anyway, but it would be a nice way to ease him back into the offense, back into NFL play. And then against Miami, that should be hopefully a meaningless game with everything clinched. We could get him back into real game shape, and then you got a week off for the playoffs.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. So let's get into that LeGarrette Blount situation that we were talking about here. He goes on IR. His contract's up after the season. He's 29 years old. He just turned 29, I think, beginning of this month. Been with the Patriots for almost 2.5 seasons, really signed middle of last season, mid to end of last season. What do you think his future in New England and future in the NFL looks like after this year?
When he went down, I wasn't sure what the injury was. Then they placed him on injured reserve, and then I thought to myself, LeGarrette Blount just played his last snap in New England. We kind of talk about that magical number being 30 for a running back, and then production starts to decline. He's 29 years old, going on 30, and he's been kind of a system type player. He went for 1,000 yards his rookie season, and then everything kind of melted down in Tampa Bay. With locker room issues and all that, and he was traded away. Had a great, run with the Patriots, playoff game. He ran for 4 touchdowns. He's that power back, downhill runner, but he thought he was, on the road to redemption that 1 year in New England. So he latches on with the Steelers, and what does he do? He brings everyone around him down. Him and Le'Veon Bell got suspended. I believe it was for smoking weed.
Yeah.
He walked off the field. He kind of turned back into that head case. Patriots bring him back in after he was cut, and he's right back to being that typical Patriot system type player, under the radar, under the gun, not getting in trouble. I do think he's played his last down, but I do in New England, but he should be on a team next year in the offseason.
This is how I envision it. I envision the Patriots not bringing him back. I don't know. Might draft a running back. They extended Dion Lewis for a while. I think they're gonna try and go forward with him after this season. I wouldn't completely rule it out that the Patriots don't bring him back just because Bill Belichick likes him a lot and he loves New England a lot. But I envision him going to another team, signing like a 1-year deal, getting cut at training camp. I just don't think the guy has anything left. They talk about 30 being that magic number with the running backs in the NFL. I think he's already hit that wall. There's just been a significant drop off from last year to this year. Even last year, at times, he looked like he still had some burst. He was big in the AFC Championship game. He had a couple other big games down the stretch. And this year, you just really have never seen that old LeGarrette Blount, that where the blunt force trauma, as Zoe says. We just haven't seen any of that this year. I think a hitch injury like this might require him to get surgery after the season. Who knows? I just think we've seen the best. We've seen the best of LeGarrette Blount, and I'm not sure if he's going to find a club next year.
Let me ask you something. So I looked up his contract. He's on the back end of the 2-year, 1.9. We'll call it $2 million deal that he signed. He's an unrestricted free agent next year. What would you bring him back if it was cap friendly? He's just another guy to carry the ball. If he took a 2-year, $2.1 million deal,
I take that.
money, would you bring him back?
I would. I mean, you got Dion Lewis, you got James
depth.
White.
It's just pure depth.
Yeah, it's just a guy that can run the ball. I mean, I really don't think you don't really need much from that. That's even a little bit pricey for me, to be honest, for a guy that runs the ball, because I think you could get Joey Youssef out there making probably 400, 500K per year and probably could do the same thing that LeGarrette Blount would do next year. That's why, ultimately, I don't think he'll be with the Patriots next year because of the age he's at and because of his veteran I can't think of the word, but because he's a veteran, he's got that seniority factor over everybody else that he needs to get paid, and I just don't think Bill Belichick wants to do that.
Don't you think that coming off a season in which you've had a phenomenal year, you're going to get paid? You know, a contract year is important because your play is going to dictate your value. You know, coming off an injured season, which I think he was decent. I mean, he ran for 703 yards and 6 touchdowns. I think that's, usually I don't think he's 1,000-yard back, but I think he's like an 850 yards, 6 touchdown a year kind of guy. I think if they could bring him back on a team-friendly deal, I think he'd be smart to want to come back, to play with Tom Brady.
I'm sure he wants to come back, yeah, but I think it's going to kind of –
He's played for 3 teams in his career, regular season, games. I think he was with the Titans for like 10 seconds. But he's only had success in New England. So I credit that purely to the system. So when they enter negotiations, if they do in the offseason, he should want to come back and if the Patriots, reach out with an offer, he should instantly say yes, because yes, running backs are a commodity. They come and they go. He will, he's not worth a ton of money, but I think if they can bring him back on a team-friendly deal, I'd do it.
It's just going to have to be super team-friendly because I really don't think they want to pay him anything at all.
Well, let's say, because I know off air you said you don't even think he's going to play another down in the NFL.
I mean, I'm not necessarily saying he won't play another down in the NFL. I just see this is the way I see it. He gets signed to the team, gets cut in training camp, and then he'll be on his couch for 4 or 5 months. Then maybe a team brings him in, and knowing LeGarrette
Blount, playoff run type thing,
maybe, and knowing LeGarrette Blount, just the way that we kind of envision him, I don't envision him to be the guy that sits on his couch and works out constantly. Like
he's a guy that weight could easily, load up.
He failed the conditioning test coming into the season.
He did. Yep, that's right. So I guess you could call that. Well, he's always been kind of a head case. If you look back to his final year in Oregon, I think it was either a bowl game or one of the regular season games. He got into an altercation post-game against Boise State and punched the guy, as I guess they exchanged words in the post-game handshakes. That's why his draft stock plummeted. Comes in rookie year, runs for 1,000 yards, and then immediately production goes down. Problems in the locker room. So the only case that I see him not playing again is if he does latch on with like a Tennessee or someone like that, and it becomes problems in the locker room, and a team's not going to put up with a headache, especially if you're not producing on the field, as we see with like a Greg Hardy, who is a major headache, but still produces somewhat on the field. So, yeah, I think there's 31 other teams, but I think he's good enough to latch on with another team.
Yeah, I agree. It's he should be good enough. I'm sure somebody will give him the opportunity. We shall see, though, coming down the stretch. I also wouldn't write off him coming back to Foxborough because I think Bill Belichick and him have a good relationship. But let's get into some other NFL topics here. Here's a big, hot button issue in the NFL right now: Peyton Manning, Brock Osweiler debate right now. I'm gonna give you my opinion. It's not a very popular one, but I have not been very impressed with Brock Osweiler here of late. I know he beat the Patriots. He made some big throws. I don't think it would be stupid of them to keep rolling with him, but I think Peyton Manning right now might give you the best chance to win. I think with the few weeks rest he has right now, we saw it when he came back after a bye week. He threw for 340 yards, was 21 of 29 against Green Bay. I think he could come back and win these final two games for you down the stretch that you need to. Their division isn't locked up. The playoff spot isn't even locked up for the Broncos right now. I think he could beat this Bengals and then beat, I think it's the Raiders they have down the stretch here, and get you secured with a bye in the playoffs down the stretch here. What do you think?
No, I'm gonna go with Brock Osweiler. I mean, Peyton Manning's been out, the past couple of weeks. And by the way, you bring back that game against Green Bay, which, coming off 14 days of rest off a bye week, he also didn't throw a touchdown in that game. But, I'm just saying, Manning, 9 touchdowns, 17 interceptions this year, still leading the league in interceptions, and he hasn't played in a month. I think that the smart thing to do is to put the quarterback out on the field. That gives you the best chance to win, and I think it's Brock Osweiler. Look, I'm not saying Brock Osweiler is Tom Brady, but I'm going to use an analogy a couple of years.
I knew that was coming.
September 23rd, 2001, a day that will always, ring true with Patriots fans. Drew Bledsoe scrambling out of the pocket, gets cracked.
Mo Lewis.
Yep,
build a
got
statue.
cracked. Almost died, by the way.
Yeah.
Serious hit. They turn over the team to a guy named Tom Brady, and it's never looked back. Brock Osweiler is not Tom Brady, but I think the analogy fits here. He's a 6'7" quarterback that has a strong arm. It helps when you have an elite defense behind you. 8 touchdowns and 4 interceptions in the small sample size we've seen. I know as the weather gets colder and it starts to snow and rain, and going into, New England to play a playoff game, hopefully if the Patriots can lock up a spot, is going to be tough for a first-year starting quarterback. But I think you got to go with whoever gives you the best chance to win, and I think that's Brock Osweiler.
Yeah, it's a good debate.
I think it's a win either way, because Manning should be 100% coming off over a month of rest. So if he did come out, and start this week against the Bengals, I'm sure he'd throw for 300 and 3 touchdowns, because we saw what happened against Green Bay. He lit that defense up for 340 yards, probably his best performance of the season. But rest is the big thing. So it's a pivotal game this upcoming week against Cincinnati, with Andy Dalton's future still up in the air. So they're competing for that number 2 spot for the bye.
Yeah, it's a huge game for Patriots fans in general, because you've been rooting against Denver the past few weeks. Now we got to root for Denver to win this game, and for the Patriots to take care of their business at MetLife. Because if the Patriots win and Denver wins, first round seed, it's locked up. And I think even if the Patriots win, the first round seed is locked up. I might be mistaken.
They control their own destiny, which is most important.
But this is going to be a very tough game at MetLife. If the Patriots can win and make that game in Miami meaningless, and
wouldn't that be great to sit back week 17 and just have no stress, win, lose, draw, maybe get Jimmy G some reps, because
Gronk,
they
Edelman,
left Tom Brady in the game too often, I think.
Yeah, so, Gronk, Edelman, Brady, Amendola, they can just go enjoy Miami the night before and just let Jimmy G and all these guys roll out there. Chris Harper, maybe we'll even let him out of the doghouse to play in the game. Who knows?
I don't know about that, but I do know South Beach is a good time.
Just let those guys run wild.
A pre-bye playoff week. So
yeah, just let those guys run wild down there and enjoy the bye week. So I just want that game to mean nothing. So we can just let me
ask you this: who do you fear more, Brock Osweiler and the Denver defense, or Cincinnati with no Andy
Brock
Dalton.
Osweiler. Brock
Because
Osweiler.
I don't think Andy Dalton is going to be able to come back. I don't. What is
And the
it?
Bengals of late just have not impressed me. I think they're turning back into the Bungles that we've always known them as.
I like that. Yeah, but, here's a guy, Marvin Lewis, has been there 12 years, over a decade, and he has
Never won a
0
playoff game.
playoff wins in his resume. So,
And like he's been there about I think 8 times. He loses
yeah,
in the
he's
first
been
round
in
every
the
time.
playoffs. He's gotten to the playoffs. I think it's 0-4 under Andy Dalton. They just haven't had postseason success. And, coming in, every week we do power rankings on our show. I still think they scare me. I know history plays a factor, but listen, you still got to play 60 minutes of football. So I wouldn't, underestimate them coming into a playoff game. You know what? We're in the heat of this debate right now. I think we have to talk MVP race since we're bouncing around the NFL. Off the cusp, not scheduled. We're giving our podcast listeners a little overtime on Suffolk Overtime here with Frang and Mack. Tom Brady and Cam Newton are both viable candidates. I think I know where voters are going, and it's going to be Cam Newton. 14-0 Panthers leading them to a perfect season. I think they'll go perfect. Atlanta and Tampa Bay do not stand a chance to stop them. Atlanta, as I predicted early on, were the frauds. They were overachievers, and they've really, hit that wall of, where they're going to go. And, I think Cam Newton's the MVP. I guess with my head, I'd say Cam Newton, although heart says Tom Brady, who's done more. I guess
less.
you could say less, with
Maybe
injuries
not really.
and all
That's
that.
not a good idea.
But Cam Newton is throwing to Greg Olsen and Ted Ginn and Cotchery, right? Cotchery's still there? Yeah, so, I mean,
like
Cam Newton doesn't have the targets, but that team, that defense is real good, and that running game's been great.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, obviously you want to go with Tom Brady as a Patriots fan, but personally, I could care less about MVP or individual honors. I really just don't care about any of that unless it's Super Bowl MVP or comeback player of the year. I only those are two that I really care about. MVP, I could care less. I think you're going to give it to Cam Newton. I mean, if your team goes undefeated and you're essentially the without a doubt leader of that team, he's really the only planet player besides Josh Norman on that team. You got to give it to him right now. I mean,
I do care about hardware because I think when it's all said and done, that helps on the resume. But
it's about rings.
Here's another question: would you give Tom Brady AP Offensive Player of the Year?
Probably not.
Really?
That's much of the same thing.
It's Cam Newton. Well, the past 2-3 years, it hasn't been the same player that gets it. So I think you'd have to go Tom Brady with that, who's, by the way, leading the league in passing yards by over 170 to the next, Phillip Rivers, and touchdown passes. So
what about this? Would you give AP Offensive Player of the Year to Rob Gronkowski?
I knew you were going to say that. I think you have to.
I predict him to win at the beginning of the season.
You predict him to win that?
Yeah, I thought he would.
I mean, he's got to be thrown in there out of respect. I mean, he's basically the tight end. Everyone's kind of adopted the tight end usage of the Patriots, the two tight end sets, and even using
the basketball tight end.
Eifert, those the Kelsey players. Yeah, but basically, Gronk and the Patriots are the first to do that, and Gronk is what is his fifth time over 10 touchdowns in 6 seasons, over 1,000 yards. You got to, out of respect, throw him in there.
Yeah, I think just because of his valuableness to the Patriots offense and the offense in general, you
got the most important player besides Tom Brady.
I think even you got to make the case for Edelman too, just how bad their offenses looked or mediocre.
But would you make the case that he's more important than Tom Brady? Because I still think Jimmy G could have led the Patriots to 10-6.
I agree with that.
Minimum. Yeah. And you've seen how this offense has been without Edelman, without Gronk. So I mean, with the healthy Gronk and Edelman and Jimmy G starting, still 11-5 team in my opinion.
I agree with that too, but I equate that to the most valuable person on the Patriots being Bill Belichick, because I think he's just a genius, and I think that's what would I think. As much, I mean, Tom Brady not being there, you're not winning the Super Bowl, obviously, but I still think you do get to 10 or 11 wins if you have Edelman and Gronk in there, because I think they're that good. And that's why it's frustrating, because if the Patriots had those two guys in there, they'd just be rolling right now, which is what we hope we see in January.
Yeah, so I think that's why, you're right to say it's Bill Belichick. It's the system. That's why no one player is above the system. You've seen they let Darrelle Revis walk. It seems like that may have been the right decision as he slowed down. That no one player is above the system. But before we wrap up, we were talking about this, Sunday during football. The Pittsburgh Steelers scare me, and they are still officially out of the playoffs. They're on the outside looking in, but this team needs to be respected and needs to be fed. And you don't see that.
No, hold on. Let me rephrase. I listen to a lot of sports radio. I listen to a lot of Patriots podcasts. I listen to there's a lot of talk around town, around Boston, around New England, and everybody just thinks they got a scorching hot take when they say that the Pittsburgh Steelers are the biggest threat to the Patriots, and that the Pittsburgh Steelers are the team to beat in the AFC, or the Pittsburgh Steelers can come into Gillette and win. I agree with all that. I think
that offense is real good. Antonio Brown, #1 receiver in the league.
All right, I agree. The Steelers match up well with the Patriots. They're a very good team. They're by far, without a doubt, let me state this clear, without a doubt, the biggest threat to stopping the Patriots' road to Super Bowl 50. I just think home divisional game in Foxborough with Brady, Edelman, Gronk fully healthy, defense fully healthy, you should win that game.
I think
there's no excuse for the Patriots not to win that game.
So the defense has to carry them.
That defense should, because the Pittsburgh.
I take the Patriots defense, 7 times, way better than the Steelers defense.
The Steelers defense is horrible. They
force turnovers though.
I don't think you can force turnovers against a bad average quarterback like Brock Osweiler. Did the Patriots turn the ball over a lot in week 1? Tom Brady doesn't turn the ball over. The Patriots offense is not a turnover-driven offense. They're not going to turn the ball over again.
Just listen. You got to respect them.
I do respect them.
If they played in Foxborough, I think if they were in the playoffs, out of the 5 teams other than the Patriots, they would have the #1 shot to beat us. And if they play, it'd be a 1-possession game. It would be a 3-point game, 7-point game, a 1-score victory. Hopefully for the Patriots. I'm not making any predictions.
It should be the Patriots. If the Patriots were to lose to the Steelers in the division, which is going to be in the division round if they match up the way the seedings work out, which kind of is pretty ironic.
They don't control their own destiny, the Steelers.
No, they're not even in the playoffs right now.
Jets and Kansas City went out, and the Steelers are going home. They're going golfing.
So the Patriots lose this weekend?
Let me ask you this, as before we wrap this up, Suffolk Overtime, Frang and Mack, would it be in the best interest of the Patriots to lose against the Jets, and you fear let's say, hopefully Cincinnati would take out the winner over Denver, because I don't think Andy Dalton's coming back. So the Cincinnati be the 2 seed, the Broncos the 3 seed, and then the Jets and Kansas City wins out, and the Patriots win, obviously, Week 17 against Miami. So that would make the Patriots the 1 seed, Cincinnati 2, and Broncos 3, and then Kansas City and the Jets are 5, 6, wild card spots, 1, 2 wild card spots. Pittsburgh goes golfing in the offseason. Yeah. Would that be best case scenario?
No, because if you're saying the Patriots are going to are you going to say the Patriots are purposely losing? Or you just say the Patriots outright lose?
No, if they happen to lose, it could work out in their best interest. Because if Kansas City wins, Pittsburgh wins, the Jets are essentially out, and they don't control their destiny unless Kansas City or Pittsburgh slips up.
I don't think so, because I really, really don't want that game in Miami to mean anything. I want that to just be a game where you can kick your feet up and not worry about anything, and just give these guys an extra week off. I think if you're playing not to play a team, then you're a weak football team and you're scared. And I think that can translate to the fans too. I think you shouldn't. If you're a Patriots fan with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, the 2 best playoff coaching quarterbacks of all time, and you're afraid of the Steelers, who you absolutely have dominated over time, then come on. Just look at the track. I know history doesn't always tell you the story, but the Patriots, Bill Belichick and Tom Brady, have absolutely dominated the Steelers. There's teams they've had to put troubles against. They've had troubles against the Jets, the Miami down there, the Baltimore certainly has had their number, the Giants obviously. One team that hasn't had their number is the Steelers. The Patriots, I don't have the exact record, but they dominated them going all the way back to 2001 when they went into Pittsburgh and won the AFC Championship. 04.
You remember that? They had what year was that they came into New England with their suitcases packed?
Yeah, that was 2001. They had the suitcases packed in the tunnel, and Lawyer Malloy took that to heart and they were all mad about it. And they came out. Drew Bledsoe came into that game after Brady got hurt and beat the Steelers. So Patriots have their number. I think that's a game. Obviously, the Pittsburgh offense, don't get me wrong, scares the crap out of me too, but I think the Patriots can limit them. I think the Patriots offense can score at will with Edelman and Gronk out there on that Pittsburgh defense, and that's a game that there's no excuses at all that the Patriots lose. If they are to lose to that game, to that team, that is just an outright disappointment, and this team isn't as good as we thought they were.
Mac, as we wrap up, I hope we're not sitting here in a month saying that that I'm saying that you were right. I don't want to be right in this case. I just have to portray what I'm thinking as a non-biased analyst. But I hope you're right. I pray that you're right.
Just trust the hoodie. Trust the hoodie and Brady.
I trust the hoodie. I trust it.
All right, man. All right, that does it for this edition of Frang and Mack NFL around the NFL Whip Around podcast. That does it for us. See you guys later.